What's going on, guys? I'm Landon, and this is David, and we're Taffy Hoops. We're back. Long hiatus, I know. School gets crazy, but hopefully we're back on the grind. What is it, like 7-ish games into the season? When we're recording?
Yeah. 6, 7, 8, 9 games for a lot of the teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot to talk about with almost every single team. Some teams are going right as expected, not much to talk about, but there are a lot of surprises in this season, not what I expected for a lot of teams, so I'm really excited to get into it.
Me too.
Okay, sweet. So we're going to do like early season grades, like looking at these first 6, 7, 8, 9 games and talking about like what do we think about each of these teams right now, how are they playing, but also what do we see from them going forward. So we'll have grades for them, just like looking at what they've done early in the season, but we'll also talk about like is their success or failure going to continue, or is there something that we can see changing in the near future?
Yeah, because that is something that's really hard with early in the season, is that sometimes the records are telling, but then sometimes it's just like, oh, that's just lucky, kind of.
Right. So I think the first team we should start with is the Atlanta Hawks. They made a new addition with DeJounte Murray, and it looks like they're doing really well with him. I like the duo with him and Trae Young. Trae is scoring a lot, but he's been a little bit inefficient. But DeJounte has definitely picked up the slack with the shooting and defense and playmaking.
For sure.
And now they're 5-3, which is really good.
John Collins is looking good too.
Oh yeah.
I think John Collins is one of those guys that's always, I think, past 4. No, he's in past 3-ish years. I feel like he's always been in trade rumors.
Oh yeah.
And now it's kind of looking in Atlanta like, why trade him? You don't need to trade him.
He finally has a role on the team, and I feel like that's really great for him. He's like a stretch 4. He's not asked to do too much now that they have DeJounte Murray. He's not asked to be the second best guy on the team. And he's now at a contract where it's like team friendly, and it's not super huge anymore with the salary cap increasing. So I really like the fit with him on this team. We gave the Atlanta Hawks an A-, and I don't see any reason why they can't maintain the success and be a top 6 seed in the East right now.
Mm-mm.
And I feel like unless like teams like the Brooklyn Nets like basically get back on track, the Hawks can maintain a really good top 6 spot in the East and be a contender for a deep playoff run.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people thought the Hawks were going to be and I think myself included really, going into the season, thought the Hawks were kind of going to be that like kind of bottom playoff-ish, play-in-ish team.
Yeah.
But it's looking like they're going to be kind of that middle of the pack playoff team instead this year.
Which I think is really good for them having DeJounte Murray, adding him into the team.
Very impressive.
For him to just be like immediately gelling with the team and like right away, especially with like the off-court off-season issues, I feel like that's really good for the Atlanta Hawks to do that. The next team we're going to talk about is the Boston Celtics. They have lost 3 out of their last 4 games, 2 of those games to Cleveland and 1 to Chicago. But Tatum is really making his case for MVP with scoring over 30 points a game with great efficiency. I'm really happy that he's kind of stepped into that superstar role once again after like a subpar finals.
Yeah, I think they're definitely showing that they are they're definitely showing that they're the returning Eastern Conference champions.
Yeah.
I think last year they were very patchy throughout the season, and kind of at some points in the season, maybe the Celtics are maybe a team you were lucky to run into because you're like, oh, they're kind of in shambles.
Right.
I think this year they're pretty solidified as they're one of the best teams in the league, and if you're playing them, you're gonna be like, you better be scared, you better have a great game plan, you better be prepared. That's something that the Cavaliers have done an amazing job of doing. But yeah,
like Boston has had a really tough schedule going right into the season. They started off 3-0, but 3 of their last 4 games they have lost, but they're to like perennial East playoff teams, so I don't see an issue with them. The only thing is like I feel like there's not another option to like do a bunch of ISO with Tatum. That's what I noticed last night. Like he was the only one ISOing last night, and I feel like Jaylen Brown didn't always like step it up when Tatum wasn't doing well. So, but I do like the addition of Malcolm Brogdon. He's a great playmaker. He's kind of like that true point guard that's like finally fitting. They didn't have a bunch of playmaking last year, and I feel like that's great that they have Malcolm Brogdon to do that this year. He's kind of that true point guard that fits perfectly with the team.
Yeah, he can be that. He's definitely going to be in contention for 6th man of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like, that'd be great. I did give them a B- just because of their losses to Cleveland and Chicago, but I don't see any reason why they won't be a top 3 to 5 seed in the East this year. I'm really excited for them. But this is one of the most like crazy teams going into this year. We had no idea what was going to happen with them, and they've kind of proven that they are not a great team right now. And that is the Brooklyn Nets. We gave them an F. They've had a lot of off-court issues. They've also had a lot of on-court issues. Steve Nash gets fired. Kyrie has all of his dramas. Ben Simmons fails to produce offensively. And they're always in these close games, and you expect KD and Kyrie to take over, but it doesn't happen.
I really do wonder with the Nets. I feel like ever since they made this super team in, what was it, the 2019-2020 season?
Yeah.
They really, it just keeps being like, oh, well, the Nets, this is not going well for them right now, but if all this stuff happens, then they'll be fine. And I feel like you keep saying but, and it's like, oh, but it'll all work out eventually. Mm-hmm. These problems don't matter. And now I feel like it's at the point with the Nets where it's like the only thing that has ever really gone right for them in the history of their stunt as a super team, is that Kevin Durant's made. Like, Kevin Durant's crazy. Like, Kevin Durant's gonna be a generational talent, but that doesn't win a team sport like basketball.
Right. Kevin Durant can only do so much in a 7-game series in the playoffs, and that showed in that series against Milwaukee in 2021. He literally did everything for that team with Harden with one leg and Kyrie being out. Like, Kevin Durant can't do everything for this team, and right now I feel like he's showing that, even though he's still a top 5 player in this league.
Yeah, for sure.
The next team we're going to talk about is the Charlotte Hornets.
Actually, this is another video, but I don't know if he's top 5 anymore, actually.
Okay. That's a hot take, but we'll talk about that later. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Charlotte Hornets. I feel like they've just kind of met expectations, beating up on the bad teams, losing to all the good teams. But it's kind of been hard to evaluate them because LaMelo's been out for a lot of the games.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, no one wants to watch them without LaMelo, so I've barely seen any of them. I think I watched a couple of I watched their highlights with the Knicks game, but that's it.
I watched one of their highlights with Dennis Smith. He's been a great starting point guard for them, kind of having that resurgence, and I'm really, really happy for him. He's a nice story for the team. But once LaMelo gets back, he's just going to be a backup point guard, which I guess is better than what he was when he wasn't even in the league. So I'm glad for him, but you can't really say much about that besides that it's a good story.
Kelly Oubre's looked way better this year too. And I don't know if that's because LaMelo, obviously he's going to have to take a different role that LaMelo's not on the team currently.
Right.
But he's looked amazing this season, been a good scorer for them. Gordon Hayward, he's been hitting his shots. He's been showing that when he is healthy and he's ready to contribute, he does.
They've had to contribute more, especially since Miles Bridges has been out.
Right.
I mean, he's out forever, but
reasons.
Yeah, but they definitely have stepped up, and they've looked like at least close to a play-in team this year, especially when LaMelo gets back. And LaMelo's going to play like an all-star, so I don't know if I would say I have high hopes for them, but they have a chance to make the play-in spot if they play the way they are, especially when LaMelo gets back.
For sure.
The next thing we're going to talk about is a team that not really surprised me. I just didn't expect them to have the start they would have, is the Chicago Bulls. I just expected a fallback from DeMar DeRozan, which happened, but I didn't expect Vucevic and LaVine to kind of step up when DeMar fell back a little bit. And I feel like Vooch is playing like that kind of because he realized he's in a contract year. He has to play well if he's going to get money next year. LaVine did miss a few games, but in the games that he's played, he's really helped with scoring. I think a few of their losses well when he was out, but like he's played very well. He's kind of solidified that offense when he's been on the court, and I just can't wait for Lonzo Ball to get back.
Yeah, the Bulls are interesting because as much as they are a really solid team, they're not contenders in my mind. I don't think they ever really will be out there in my mind. Their timeline isn't good for a championship. I mean, like DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic aren't good for that timeline. Zach LaVine, he's what, 28?
He's probably 26, 28, I forget.
Yeah. But like just it's not. I just wouldn't be happy if I'm a Chicago fan because you're kind of in that like kind of that Pacers area where it's like, oh, we have Paul George, but it's like, are we gonna win? Like,
yeah, and then Victor Oladipo, are we
yeah,
gonna win? Yeah, I feel like the Bulls are more talented than the Pacers were when we had
for sure, but
Victor
like,
Oladipo.
it's still same tier. Like, well, you're gonna make the playoffs and you're gonna maybe have an interesting series, but you're not gonna win or get out of it.
Oh,
even.
right, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's my take on the Bulls at least. Did you say what grade you gave them? We gave them a B. B for Bulls.
The next team we're going to talk about is a team that I predicted to do very well this season, and they have met my expectations. The Cleveland Cavaliers, we gave them an A. Donovan Mitchell has been great. They've kind of kept the team afloat, especially when Darius Garland was out with an eye injury. Last game was his first game back from that injury, and he balled out last night, and I'm really happy for him. Donovan Mitchell was a great clutch player, especially with Garland out. They have guys like Harris LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Mobley, and Kevin Love who can kind of take that offensive load. And I feel like that's what I noticed in the clutch too, where when Mitchell wasn't hitting shots, Garland could, and when Garland wasn't hitting shots, Mitchell could. So they have a lot of weapons on offense.
Yeah, I definitely think Donovan Mitchell has done an amazing job of just going into this team and just like without skipping a beat has just taken up his role. Mm-hmm. He's become their star player. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see him and Garland now. Maybe that can screw stuff up. I hope not to jinx it, but like obviously you're gonna have to take a little different role if there's two all-stars in the backcourt. Right. Like Harris LeVert again, I love seeing him contributing. He's been kind of hit or miss, obviously with like that 40-point game and then like the 1-point game. Right. But that being said, I like the Cavs. I think they're well developed and they have a very good depth chart. I just think they have a very bright future.
And they also have like a lot of their stars are very young, so they can contend for a long time. And I'm really happy about that for them. Mobley is still like 20, I think. Like every one of their stars is under 30, which is really good for like longevity. But hopefully they'd be able to pay all of them, especially with Mobley not even having a contract over a rookie contract.
Mobley would be someone I would keep my eye on for Defensive Player of the Year too.
Oh, that's true.
I think he's a not even dark horse for that. He's just a horse in that race.
For sure.
Wait, is that what that means? Okay.
I think so.
So yeah, they're an A. I think we might have said that already. But Cleveland Cavaliers exceeding expectations.
Exceeding a lot of people's expectations.
Not
for sure.
Crazily, probably. Like everyone expected them to be good, but they're pretty phenomenal.
I'm surprised how quickly they gelled together. I thought they'd have a slow start and they'd pick it up at the end of the season. And they'd play very well at the end of the season. Same. But they started off really strong, beating Boston twice. And I feel like that's really impressive for them.
Yeah.
The next team we're going to look at is one team that I was really high on, and I'm still kind of high on, is the Dallas Mavericks. Luka's looked very good, making a great case for MVP. They've had a difficult schedule so far, so they're better than their record at 4-3. I'm impressed with how well Christian Wood has fit into the system. He's playing as a six-man role, and I'm glad he's taking that well and contributing still. And he's in that clutch rotation, so it's not really that he's getting his minutes, which is really good.
I don't have much to say for the Mavericks, but I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of the same thing for them for the past couple of years. It's Luka. Luka's gonna do his thing. He's gonna be amazing, phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Is it this year he's gonna be MVP? Maybe. But then they just like they can't. They don't. It doesn't lead to winning eventually.
Right. They're always going to be a good, not great team if they don't have another star around Luka, and they don't.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm high on them. I think they'll be a great regular season team, but come playoff time, they'll get to like conference semifinals, conference finals, and lose. Like, there's not much you can do against like the greats in the West, like Denver, Phoenix. I mean, they beat Phoenix last year, but like teams like that, we have to go through one of them like every single series. And the next team we're going to talk about is Denver. I expected them to start off really strong, and they didn't. I thought Jokic, MPJ, and Jamal Murray would be like that great cohesive core that would get them to be like a top team in the West, and they still might do that. And I'm still optimistic for them, especially since like MPJ and Murray are coming back from injuries. But they're 4-3 right now, and they've lost. Like they lost to Utah, who's better than people expected, and they lost to San Antonio. So it's like games that they should win, but they're not.
Yeah. I mean, Utah and San Antonio. We'll talk about them later. But the Nuggets are definitely a team that I saw a lot of people putting them as their 1 seed. Did you have them as your 1 seed?
Yes, I did.
And I think most people in that justification, I think most people didn't even think they were necessarily like the favorites to even make it out of the West, but they just figured they're gonna be kind of like that Bucks type model of like, oh, like they can get regular season wins like crazy.
Yes.
I think one thing I would think that would really help their success is I think MPJ does an amazing job of sitting in the corner, doing his job in the corner, but I think for them to really get more wins, I think MPJ needs to get out of the corner and do stuff, cut, do all that stuff. He's an amazing spot up corner 3-point shooter. But I want to see him do more than that. I want to see him get out of his comfort zone.
2 guys that I like from this team, Christian Brown and Bones Highland. Both are great shooters, great defenders. I'm really happy that they're kind of putting these guys around Jokic, getting guys that he can pass to. Christian Brown, he's been a great shooter for them so far. Bones Highland is just like a pure scorer that I love. Is playing around Jokic, cutting very well. And I feel like he's almost making a better impact than MPJ is right now.
Yeah, for sure. Up next is the list of my phone. It's not changing. David, what's the next thing?
Detroit Pistons. And I feel like the biggest storyline for them is the blending between Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. They've blended very well. They've shown really great flashes of dominance in their future, but right now they need to develop together. And I feel like I'm frustrated with how Ivy is playing right now, especially off the ball and on defense. Last year, he was super talented offensively, and he showed flashes of being great defensively, but he didn't have the motor to actually make plays defensively and actually move off the ball. When he didn't have the ball, he was kind of useless almost. And I feel like that's how he's playing in the NBA, and that's not working as well as it did in college.
Yeah, I think that's also something we see with people like Donovan Mitchell. They are great defensive players in college.
Oh yeah.
But then once they go to the NBA, they gotta contribute their full. They gotta dedicate their whole effort to being elite at an offensive level in the NBA. And so they're not able to give as much effort to their defensive area of their game.
I'm still confident Ivy is going to be a great player. He's going to be a great match for Cade Cunningham, but he needs to develop a lot of their young players like Jalen Duren, Saddiq Bey, Cade Cunningham. All these guys need to develop, and I feel like it helps that they have guys like Bojan Bogdanovic on their team that can help develop the players along with the coaches. And I feel like it's going to happen at some point. It's just not going to happen right now. It's not happening overnight.
I think the Pistons are a team, kind of the first on this list. I think the front office kind of has to step back and say, we're good. We have a good young core. I think we need more. So I think we just need a tank.
Yeah, let it
get a good draft pick.
Yeah.
Basically, which they have their draft pick. I'm pretty sure
they do.
I don't know why they won it, but
the next team that I haven't actually seen many people talking about, but I'm very disappointed in them so far. The Golden State Warriors. I gave them a D. They have a 3-5 record right now. They're playing worse than expected. They have a slow start of the season, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I really had to say about them is, obviously you're the returning champions. People expect more of you, but I think at the end of the day, I think the Warriors are a team that we've seen been able to adapt really quickly, go through little kind of cold streaks. I say cold very lightly, but I think they can back up on their feet.
This isn't 2019.
No.
This isn't 2020. They are going to be a contender this year. Almost. Yeah. I'm almost certain about it.
I'd honestly I think on our list we have the Golden State Warriors as a D. I'd only put them as a C because I think you're doing worse than people thought you would, but I think I'm not panicking. I'm not present to panic.
Right, yeah. That's true. The Houston Rockets are the next team we're going to talk about. They're 1-8. It's kind of what we expected. They're a similar situation to the Detroit Pistons, except they don't have as much talent. So they kind of have lower expectations. But Jalen Green is showing that he's going to be a great player. Alperen Şengün played very well last night against Los Angeles. If Jalen Green isn't an all-star this year, he probably will be next year. He's just showing like he is that athletic. He's that great offensively. I know there's going to be a lot of competition for the all-star spots this year. So I could see him being like an injury replacement this year.
And there's a lot of 2 guards are taken out of the West.
Donovan
Mitchell and Murray.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that's good for him.
That's true. That's definitely true. But then you have guys like Paul George and Damian Lillard coming back too.
Oh, that's true.
So you kind of have that balance of like just injuries, injured players coming back.
Right.
The next team we're going to talk about, the teams that I'm most excited to talk about, the Indiana Pacers, our hometown team.
Benedict Mathurin. He's such a beautiful man.
I wouldn't say he's front runner for Rookie of the Year, but he's close to it.
He's top 3. I think it's pretty distinct who it is. I think it's Paolo, Benedict Mathurin,
and Keegan Murray.
I said Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey is up there for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that third spot's definitely disputed. I'd say it's Keegan Murray. But our young players are playing so well to start the season. Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Chris Duarte, all of these guys are just playing in their role and dominating. And like, yes, we're only 3-5. Like, we're not that good. But like, I'm really liking what I see about those 3 guys. Definitely, even Isaiah Jackson, as being like a shot blocking big.
Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah, he needs to get more minutes. He isn't really getting minutes right now because we still have Miles Turner. But we'll probably end up training Turner and Hield soon.
Please not for Westbrook.
I mean,
but I honestly don't care.
I mean, Westbrook had a really good night last night, so you never know.
Yeah. But I don't want him taking away minutes from, like, Benedict. I don't want him to take... I don't know.
If we do trade for him, it's going to be something where we get 2 first-round picks with him, and we just cut Westbrook and take the cap space.
That's true.
And I feel like that would be, like, almost an ideal situation where we get 2 draft picks from the Lakers, who suck. I mean, it's only it's like 2027 and 2029 picks, so it's, like, not really that huge. But, like, I mean, it would be huge, especially if they aren't great. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll talk about the Lakers later.
I think you mentioned just about the record. I don't care. I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I don't want the Pacers to succeed this year. I want Victor Wembanyama. Like I don't want to be like a weird like kind of could they be a 10 seed in the play-in? No. I want to lose. Like I want to have impressive games. I want to maybe it's fun to watch them beat the Nets. But like at the end of the day, I don't want to beat the Nets twice in a row because that's not good.
Ideally, as a Pacers fan, our ideal situation is have 2 25-point per game scorers and be bad. Like,
yes.
Tyrese Halliburton scoring 25 points a game, passing
and
9 assists a game, and then Mathurin being like in Rookie of the Year conversations and possibly winning it.
Tyrese Halliburton, big person in contention for most improved. Yeah. If we could walk away with 2 awards and also be the second, like the worst or second worst team in the East, I'm happy with life. Like,
oh yeah, and I'm excited to watch Pacers games right now, and I feel
they're
like
fun. They're fun to watch.
It's a fun team to watch, and I don't know if I'll be excited to watch them in like February when we're losing a lot.
Probably
but
not.
Like, I am excited for where we're at right now, and I'm excited for our future as a Pacers fan, and that's all I can ask for.
Yeah, and like Tyrese Halliburton, he's poetry in motion on the court, and then
so smooth.
Benedict Mathurin, he just has no fear. Like he's like taking up like he's shooting 3-pointers in people's faces as a rookie, and it's just amazing to watch.
I mean, he meant it when he said like LeBron's gonna have to prove he's better than me. Like,
yeah. I remember when he said that, I was like Sawyer roll, but LeBron's still better than him obviously, but like he has right to talk up game. Like he has right to like talk up his own game.
Yeah.
And I am a little hesitant with going on the Benedict Mathurin high, just because I'm kind of cynical in that respect. But I also think, could the NBA possibly adapt to him? It could be a high possibility. But for now, let's just be happy with it.
You're right. I mean, yes, there was a chance he'd come back to earth, and I think he will at some point. He'll probably end up averaging around like 20 and not 25.
Yeah.
But like, he's gonna be a very solid player in this league, and he's shown flashes of that. He's shown full games of dominating, especially against the Nets. That was a really good game.
Of course. Yeah, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, up next we have the Los Angeles Clippers, who are 4-4.
I had them as my preseason champions, and that does not look like that right now. Kawhi Leonard has missed a lot of games, and even when he does play, it's not like full effort, and it's like he's not dominating games. And I think that is because he's still recovering from that ACL tear. He might have an adjusting period, but I think they should be able to get better in the season. But that really depends on how Kawhi comes back from his injury.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about them, just besides like get better. They're not. They're just not looking as everyone thought they would. Like, I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, this team looks great on paper. Look at the depth they have. They're gonna have John Wall. They're gonna have Kawhi back. Kawhi's gonna be a beast, which he is. Don't get me wrong. Paul George is he's back. And I think Paul George. I just heard something of him saying that he's like I'm not the best player on this team. Kawhi Leonard is the best player on this team.
Yeah,
and that's good. Also though, I think I don't think that's a bad mindset to have. I think you want to be thinking you're the best player on the team.
Especially
if you're
playing
especially if you're the best player on the team half of the games.
Right.
So just a good kind of mindset from that. I don't have much to add to that besides that though.
So yeah, we gave them a C for their start of the season.
C for Clippers.
Yep. Our next team to talk about is the Los Angeles Lakers. Despite a win last night, the Lakers are struggling. They started off the season 0-5. They're 2-5 right now, so they have won their last 2 games. I literally just have a bullet point that says Westbrook.
I don't think we even need to explain that really.
No, we don't. But they've had a lack of shooters around LeBron the past 2 years, and it's not succeeded. They have guys that are kind of doing things. They picked up Max Christie in the draft. He's a decent shooter. They have Matt Ryan, who's coincidentally the same name as the backup quarterback for the Colts. But
backup.
Yes, the backup quarterback. But Matt Ryan had a very great game last night. He had 2 clutch shots in the fourth quarter, sending the game into overtime. What?
Just quick news break. Kyrie Irving has been suspended for 5 games for quote failure to disavow his anti-Semitism. So just we don't even need to explain. We don't even need to expand on that.
This is just another example of the Nets having outside of court issues. Is this an NBA suspension or a Nets suspension?
I don't know. Net suspension. So it's a net suspension.
Okay. They literally have so many off-court issues that it's affecting their on-court play, and they can't get a consistent product out. Anyway, let's talk about the Lakers again.
So that's actually kind of interesting. I think I'm just now thinking of this. The Nets and Lakers have been the team that everyone's been like, oh, they look amazing for the past 3-ish years.
Yeah.
I think they kind of have the opposite problem. I think the Nets, if they're all good, they look amazing. They can do their thing on the court, and they can each score crazy. Oh, yeah. They can do their thing.
Are you saying
but they don't
all on the court?
What? When they're all on the court, when they're all playing well.
Oh yeah.
When they all have good chemistry and all that. The Lakers
are the opposite.
Kind of the opposite. They're posting all offseason my best friend, we're such amazing, we're gonna dominate this year, blah blah blah. We're back, whatever. And then they go, I almost just swallowed my gum. They get on the court and then they suck. They aren't what you want them to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to the front office. You're paying so many players for your so much money for your superstars. For the Nets, it's Ben Simmons, Kyrie, and KD. And for the Lakers, it's LeBron, Anthony Davis. I mean, I wouldn't say Westbrook's a star right now, but he's being paid $44 million a year.
He's being paid one.
So, basically, the Lakers and the Nets have no room for depth, and they have no room to get solid guys who can fit in their system. I mean, I don't know if the Lakers even have a system right now.
And their futures are ruined too.
Oh yeah.
I know that's not a this season thing, but that's a big concern if I was them.
Right.
They're screwed. I don't know how they're gonna recover.
The only way they recover is by free agency and trades, and I feel that's just digging themselves into a deeper hole, and I don't know.
Yeah.
it's a very difficult situation for both teams, and I don't see a way out for the Lakers in the next 5 years.
Yeah. So yeah, Lakers F.
They suck.
F. Next team, Memphis Grizzlies.
I watched them last night. They are great offensively. They desperately need Jaren Jackson Jr. back. I feel like Yusuf Nurkic was just dominating them on the offensively last night, and I feel like they just need a guy who can protect the rim, a guy who is just another body defensively, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is that. He was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year last year, and I feel like they just need him back, and they have that next man up mentality, but like Santi Aldama is not going to be a guy who's going to replace Jaren Jackson Jr. So, the Grizzlies are doing well. They're meeting expectations. They're 5-3 right now, but they aren't going to be contenders unless they have Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, that's enough said. They get a B.
Yeah.
But like John Morant's a beast. I would like to see him make an MVP run this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a huge possibility, but I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, if they're a top 3 seed and he's playing the way he's playing right now, then I don't see a reason why he's not.
Okay, next team, Miami Heat.
Yeah.
They're a weird team. There's so many teams that are very weird. I feel like there's no better way to describe them than weird. They've been a team that they made the conference finals
last year
twice in the past 3 years. Yeah, twice in the past 3 years. But like, they've just been very.
They're so mediocre this year. Jimmy Butler has been out.
He can't be number one option. I don't like.
He can in the playoffs, not in the regular season.
Yeah.
They need another scorer around him though, and I feel like Tyler Hero hopefully will get into that. He played very well last night when they won, but they just need to step it up overall. And
Jimmy Butler. Sorry.
No, you can go.
Jimmy Butler can be the number one, but only if he has an amazing team around him. Everyone else is doing their part. If Jimmy Butler, like, is a guy that can leave it all out on the court, do his thing. He can do amazing, do phenomenal. He's probably Michael Jordan's son. Who knows? But like, no one else on his team is consistent. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about them.
Yeah, so we gave them a C. Yeah, I mean they're just slightly under expectations, and I feel like they're just gonna be a mediocre team this year, as kind of how I expect them to be. They'll be probably a high play-in team, low playoff team. So we'll see how it goes for them. Oh, bless you. Bless you. The next team we're going to talk about is by far the best team in the league this year, the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis might as well be front runner for MVP. He's dominating statistics. They're undefeated record right now. I don't know what's going to stop them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Giannis get an MVP this season. Obviously, he had voter fatigue the past 2 seasons. I think it'd be really interesting because this would be his first MVP, 1 post championship, 2 post like definitely best player in the league.
Oh yeah.
So I think that would be a very interesting thing to see. Obviously, all the surrounding cast of Giannis look phenomenal. Brook Lopez is doing his job. Drew Holiday got a double-double with rebounds the other night, which I was just like...
Rebounds and assists? Or
rebounds and points.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. Like, you do you. I don't know how tall you're like 6'3", 6'2".
Yeah. 6'3", yeah.
But yeah, like, that's just amazing. I mean, I love to see that because it obviously just shows the mentality that team has. Obviously, Chris Middleton's been healthy this year.
Yeah.
And so... that's been that just helps, that contributes to Milwaukee's wins. They definitely rely on Chris Middleton as you could see last playoffs. But if they have him, they
play very well.
They're just one of the best teams in the league.
One guy I really like seeing. I know I kind of was biased against him because he injured Alex Caruso last year, but Grayson Allen is a dog and he's playing very well this year. I really like him defensively on this team. I like his fit with the team. He's kind of filled in that Pat Connaughton role since he's been injured. So I'm really glad that Grayson Allen's kind of stepped up this year. And, I mean, as long as he doesn't injure any more people, I'm happy for him.
Did Grayson Allen just do something? I feel like I saw something.
I don't know. He might have.
I don't know what it was. I'm drawing a blank right now. But, yeah. Okay, A plus, A plus plus.
Yes.
Next team, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
They have had, I don't know. I expect them to start the season very, very well. They should have had easy wins. They played against OKC twice, San Antonio 3 times, the Lakers once, and Utah once. At the start of the season, that looked like a 7-0 beginning of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, they were 4-3. They lost twice to San Antonio and once to Utah. And I kind of understand losing to Utah because they kind of shocked everybody, and we'll talk about them later. We kind of talked about them earlier a little bit.
Spurs kind of too. Well,
yeah.
Spurs are weird.
Yeah, they're just a weird team in general. I don't think. Yeah, I'll talk about it
Yeah.
later. But Kat and Gobert and Anthony Edwards just kind of need time to blend together, and I feel like it kind of sucks that they had such an easy schedule when they weren't like really gelled together. But
Yeah.
that Twin Towers is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. I really don't have much to say about them just because it is so early into the season.
Okay.
I think a lot of their shortcomings have been because of their inability to gel so far this year and really work it all out.
It's really hurt them defensively. I feel like offensively they're fine.
Yeah.
It's defensively where they're just not communicating well. Kat has to guard guys in the perimeter and he's getting beat, and I feel like Gobert's not communicating with him well. It's all those issues defensively, and I feel like once they play together more, once they're like 20, 30 games into the season, that defense will be scary.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, everyone has to just crazily shift in that defense, that defensive
Yeah, Gobert changed the whole
scheme.
defense. Yeah.
Like the whole Minnesota Timberwolves had to change for Gobert, and then Gobert obviously he's been playing with the same roughly the same players for what?
For 8 years.
8 years, and so like that's crazy. That will affect your defensive game for sure, because like obviously he's not getting worse defensively.
Yeah, but mentally he has to shift.
Yeah, it's a shift that has to take place for sure.
The next team we're gonna talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans.
Minnesota Timberwolves get a C, by the way.
Oh yes, New Orleans Pelicans. Loved watching them, but they're like the best offensive team in the league. They're the most high flying team in the NBA, but they're just an average team defensively, and that's hurting them. And they're 1-2 in games that are decided by 5 points or less. They're not clutch right now, and I feel like part of that is because Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones have all missed games. But once they all get on the court together, I feel like that's a team that is scary, a team that can contend.
See,
they just need to get healthy.
I think people are too high on the Pelicans. I think everyone calls them contenders and stuff. I don't see them being a contender. I don't like
when they're healthy though.
When they're healthy, but I also don't think teams can really be. I just don't think you are a contender until you've at least had. Like, I think there's definitely exceptions, but I think for the most part, everyone who's won a championship has gotten there at some point in the playoffs and like has made a decent run in the playoffs, good experience run in the playoffs, and then lost. The Pelicans don't have that, and I'm trying to think. Obviously, the Bucks had it. The Celtics had it. The Warriors obviously had it.
Raptors, no. I mean, yes, they did.
Raptors,
Not with Kawhi though.
I mean, yeah, but still, roughly the same core had it.
That's true.
And Kawhi obviously had championship.
They definitely need more experience, and it might not be something where they might not. It might not be this season, and I don't think it will be. But
yeah, I'm all for them saying that they're going to be contenders in like 1 or 2 seasons, but like this season, no.
That's fair. I can get behind that actually.
Yeah.
The New York Knicks are the next team we're going to talk about. They got a C-. They beat up on all the bad teams. They lose to all the good teams. Brunson kind of has to really just fit with this team better. He leads the team in scoring, but his assist numbers are down, and I feel like everybody's just kind of playing iso ball there, and it's a weird team.
We keep saying that. That would probably that should be the thumbnail of this video. The NBA is weird.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, I think it is. It's just really.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't playing how you would expect them to play.
Oh, for sure.
The Knicks. I honestly, I forgot that Jalen Brunson was on their team. Like it was such a big deal this offseason.
Oh yeah.
And then like I feel like I was watching one of their games and I was like, wait, that isn't. I was like, Jalen Brunson. I was like, oh yeah, Jalen Brunson's on their team.
Yeah. He's kind of giving you that like sneaky 20 points a game.
Yeah, but also he's your leading scorer.
Yeah. which is an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't want your top scorer to be somebody who kind of just like scores off like cuts and stuff, and he's not like your ISO guy.
And he's just coming off being a role player.
Yeah, I feel like their ISO guy right now is RJ Barrett, and he's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's leading to losses.
And you want to see RJ Barrett develop more, obviously. You want to see Julius Randle. Julius Randle has, well, from what I've seen of him, has been doing better than what I saw last season.
He's better than last year,
but not his.
Not as good as he was in 2019 or 2020, obviously.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about New York. New York, C-, maybe a D+ in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are our next team. I mean, everybody expected them to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. They've snuck out a few games. Right now they're 4-3 right now. They're over 500. Shea has kind of changed. I don't know. I feel like he's improved so much, and he's kind of built up the team around him. And I feel like the second best player right now behind Shea is Lou Dort, and that's like a huge disparity. And I feel like Shea can be an all-star even if he drops off a bit from his 31 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 5 assists, and 3 steals.
Yeah. Just another team that there's a lot of teams this year that going into the season I was like, if I was to break up into like sections, there's like the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes category of teams. The OKC Thunder are definitely in that category, especially if you're not gonna have Chet.
Oh yeah, this year
there's no need. Might as well just get another unicorn.
Right, and I feel like people don't talk about this now. The players behind Wembanyama in this draft class are pretty good. Like if you look at the Thompson twins, you look at Henderson, you look at a bunch of other guys in this draft class. I'm very excited for this draft class. I feel like it's gonna be it's one of the most top heavy drafts, but it also has some like players that are sprinkled in there that I really enjoy watching. Yeah,
it's like you can tank, but you're still gonna get like a decent player, probably most likely. Who knows?
Right. So the next team we're gonna talk about is the Orlando Magic. They're 1-7 right now. They're kind of gonna get a D because, I mean, they're lower than expectations because their expectation, for me at least, was near a playing spot. Kind of the best of the worst in the East. Because they have guys like Franz Wagner, they have Paulo Banchero coming in. They have talent with Wendell Carter, they have Cole Anthony, they have Markelle Fultz. They have all these guys that are like almost untapped potential. And I assumed it would all come together this year, and they kind of come near a play-in spot. And right now they're 1-7, and they're looking like one of the worst teams in the league. But their one bright spot is Paulo Banchero.
Yeah, I think honestly they should take a look at the Pacers book. I think the Pacers have done what they should have done. Obviously, the Magic have a lot of really young talent, and the Pacers have been able to kind of find that happy medium of, we're gonna have enough, like we're gonna win enough games to give our team like morale and also like build potential. Benedict Mathurin obviously leading us to wins against people like the Nets, all that stuff. Yeah. But like Paolo, I can't talk today. But Paolo, you obviously want to see him. Maybe some of those crazy games are contributing to more wins than they have so far.
And I feel like one difference that I've seen, like I haven't watched an actual Magic game, but I've watched a bunch of their highlights, and I feel like all the players that they're put in there are super young, super like raw, or it's like, and when you compare that to the Pacers, you have like Mathurin, Halliburton, and Duarte in the game, but you also have Turner and Hield in the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you have a mix of young and old players. So you have like an old player that can like not really facilitate the offense, but it's like kind of he knows what he's doing on the floor. When you have a bunch of rookies on the Magic who are just there,
and they don't have Halliburton. Halliburton's basically the veteran.
And also it's also difficult because for the Magic I don't like their coach, but the Pacers have a really nice coach with Rick Carlisle. I feel like he's going to be great for them going into the next few years.
Well,
but so we gave the Orlando Magic a D.
Yes. Next team, the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia 76ers.
This is going to be really difficult because right now they're 4-5, and Harden just got ruled out for another month.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really difficult because they're going to have to be. They weren't meshing well together. Harden and Embiid were not meshing together. Harden doesn't know how to play with other stars. He's only dominant when Embiid wasn't on the court, and that was an issue. So they're gonna have to try to mesh together, like a month or 2 months from now, which is gonna be very difficult.
I don't think Harden does well with especially centers, like star centers,
Mm-hmm.
because I think he kind of can work that backcourt duo thing, where he's like, I'll do my thing, you do your thing.
Right.
But then when it gets to like the big, especially with Embiid, who, if I was the coach, I want to run my offense through Joel Embiid, not Harden. But Harden does not want to do that. He wants to run the offense through him.
So like Harden kind of takes like the worst parts of him. Basically, what you're doing is like you're taking the ball out of Harden's hands, but he also wants to be like the guy who controls the ball, has high usage. So you're either taking the ball away from Embiid and giving it to Harden, or you're taking away from Harden, and Harden doesn't move without the ball. So you just kind of have him like standing at the top of the key, waiting for the ball, standing in the corner, waiting for the ball, all that. Yeah, and that's really difficult for them to win games when they're doing that. And I feel like Tyrese Maxey has done a much better job at just like gelling with Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're also paying Tobias Harris so much to do virtually nothing on that team, and it's really annoying to see that.
Also, Doc Rivers, if you're out there, you're probably gonna get fired eventually. But before you're fired, I want to see more Matisse Thybulle. The first 5 games of the season, he played 5 minutes. He didn't even play 3 of those games. Recently, he's been playing 20-ish, but I want to see even more of him. Cut Harden. One of my friends says that he thinks that if James Harden cuts his beard, that he'll do better, and I think maybe that's true.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Naked James. Naked face James. Hashtag naked face James. Okay.
Next team we're gonna talk about Phoenix Suns. They are clearly the best team in the West. They're 6-1 right now. They're the only team in the NBA to be top 5 in both offense and defense. CP3 isn't what he was last year, but he's the leader. Booker's playing very, very well. Ayton's playing well. Mikal Bridges is playing well. I really like where this team is headed, but they've done this for the past 2 years in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. But I think they're also doing it quieter this season.
That's true.
I know that doesn't mean anything. But if you think about it, I feel like the Bucks almost were kind of like that, and that they were very like
A quiet
high.
one seed.
They're very loud 1 seeds.
Oh, that's true.
For the years that they had a really good regular season, and then they got in the playoffs and they lost. And then they had a really good regular season, and then they got in the playoffs and they eventually lost. And then I think the year before
The year they won it all, they got like
they won it all. They got the 3 seed, but it was a very quiet, nice kind of subtle. Oh, we're a good team. But then they came in the playoffs and dominated. I think this is the Suns season where I think people were very high on them after the bubble. Obviously, they went in, got the 1 seed. Then they went in again, got the.
It was the 2 seed and the 1 seed.
Right, the 2 seed, then the 1 seed. Wait,
Yes.
this last place they had the 1 seed.
Yes. They had 65 wins there.
You're right. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, I think this is the Suns' year where they just kind of they get to work. They block out all distractions. I think they focus on obviously being a good team, but I think they kind of rely on people being like, oh, that's just the Suns. You know, they're not actually ever going to contribute. But in their mind, we're going to get there this year, and I think they could potentially get back to the playoff, get back to the finals this year. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That'd be really exciting for them. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Portland Trail Blazers. They've really surprised me. I mean, I knew Damian Lillard was good, but I didn't expect him to take this team. What are you doing?
The Suns aren't a.
Oh, yeah, they are. But Portland, they're 5-1 with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard didn't play last night, so they lost last night. They lost to the Grizzlies. But Damian Lillard is a star in this league. Simons is a great role player. He's playing very well. Lillard is trusting him. Simons had a great shot to win one game. I forget what it was. And Shaedon Sharpe is showing flashes of being a star. He's only 19 years old, and he's playing very, very well for them. I like where the Trailblazers are headed. I feel like last year no one had any idea what they were going to be doing last year. And I'm really excited that like Lillard has kind of stepped up, kind of helped this young team. I don't think they'll stay as like a top 5 seed in the West, but they could be a playing team this year.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of had them on the outside looking in for that.
One thing I would say with their schedule is like it hasn't been amazing teams necessarily. That they've beat and really just played like looking at their schedule. They played the Kings. The Kings obviously not good. They beat the Suns, which that's really good. They beat the Lakers, not impressive. They lost to the they beat the Nuggets, but again the Nuggets are trying to figure stuff out and they're looking rough. The Heat they lost to the Heat, then they beat the Rockets again. Don't really care. And then they lost to the Grizzlies. So it's like I don't know. I just feel like those teams aren't credible, and the best teams that they did play, they lost to. So
it's exciting to see what they're doing right now. They're playing well right now, but they're going to drop down.
Yeah.
So the next team we're going to talk about, Sacramento Kings. They're going to get a D. I was kind of high on them. I had them as a playing team, and they're not doing that right now. The trio of De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, Sabonis looks like at least a playing team. Like that looks like a good core.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not how the season's starting for them. Fox is scoring a great amount for them, and it's not leading to wins. So something needs to change for them, and I think a lot of that's going to rely on De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis.
Yes. I don't really have much more to say about them. I honestly haven't watched much of them, but I do. I don't know, and they're interesting.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs. They get an A because they're 5-3, which is very surprising for me. But I feel like I shouldn't have been surprised by this. Like they're a very not talented team. They're a very young team, in my opinion. But they're 5-3. I feel like is Pop incapable of coaching a bad team?
Yes.
I feel like every single one of his teams are going to be either mediocre or better. And I feel like like no matter who's on his team, he could just have like 6th graders on his team, and they'd at least have 30 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously going to be able to just. He's not the best coach of all. Phil Jackson, I think, has him beat, but I think
it's close.
I think
close. Pop's
he's
very
close in
coach.
contention with Phil Jackson and those coaches for best coach of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, he. I think that at the Spurs, I wouldn't. If I was the front office of the Spurs, I wouldn't want them to win a lot. But I don't know.
I feel like it's boosting fan morale for sure.
Yeah, boosting fan morale. But when Victor Wembanyama was in
a
thing, it's just like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they started off the season well. I think they'll drop off a little bit. I think they'll still be a mediocre team. They'll probably have at least 30 wins though, which is. I don't know, probably not a great situation for them. Mm-hmm. The next team we're going to talk about is the Toronto Raptors. Pascal Siakam is leading them in points, assists, and rebounds. I kind of expected their statistics to kind of be like more spread out between him, Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, even Gary Trent, and that has not happened. I feel like Pascal has kind of taken control of this team, and they're 5-3 right now. They're kind of playing how I expected from them.
I saw a quote from Pascal Siakam that says that he wants to be a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't know if he gave a timeline for it, but I don't think he'll get there. But I like that. I like that attitude. I love seeing that from a player. And also, it's not in like a cocky way. It was not like a cocky way, like I am gonna be the best player in the NBA. It was a nice, humble. I want to be in that spot, and that's what I want to see.
For it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very healthy way to do it. I love how Nick Nurse is coaching this team. I love how Masai Ujiri kind of settled this team, and I think they have a really great potential. I just don't think this is the year for them, which is unfortunate. But they got a B+ this year. They're playing how I expected from them.
Yeah. Okay, second to last team, definitely one of the teams that is surprising a lot of people. The Utah Jazz.
I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know.
Lauri Markkanen's kind of different than I think a lot of people expected.
Here's my theory. Will Hardy is basically the game changer. This coach, Will Hardy, this new guy, I had no idea who he was before like last week. I didn't even know he was the coach of the Utah Jazz. But he has these guys playing. He has these boys running. He has Markkanen playing like an all-star. He has Colin Sexton producing. He has Mike Conley being like this leader for them, and Clarkson's playing with like full tempo, full effort, and I feel like I don't think this is what they're gonna do all year. They're probably gonna come down to earth, and I think that's gonna happen within the next few weeks. But I like how they're playing right now, and I think it's really cool. And I think Markkanen, especially if he plays the way he keeps playing right now with 21 points, 9 rebounds, 50% from the field, that's all-star numbers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they're like a play-in team going into All-Star break, that is an All-Star for Lauri Markkanen, which is very, very surprising.
Yeah, I'm just now kind of thinking this, but and I don't really know like upcoming free agency that well in like the next couple of years, but I feel like there's so many young cores that are showing great talent, but obviously missing that piece.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any young cores that could eventually in the league have cap space and just like add that star and kind of just instantly become that kind of contender?
I don't know the contracts that are coming up.
Yeah, me neither.
Like I feel like
that's for another day, but yeah.
I don't know.
We'll think on that.
For sure. I feel like that could be something we talk about. The last team we're going to talk about, the Washington Wizards. I don't know how they're even at 500 right now. Like, Beal is underperforming, and I think it's Porzingis and Kuzma that are kind of picking up the slack for him because they're 500. They're 4-4. I think they haven't had an easy schedule. I put them at a B-.
Yeah, I haven't looked at them much.
They kind of are playing how they were expected to play.
They won't make the playoffs.
They were 1-1 against the Pacers. They beat some other They beat some other teams in the East, and I think they lost to the Clippers one game. But
I feel like they're a team that's gonna try to make the playoffs, but they just clearly won't. But they'll be like the 11th seed, so they won't even be. They won't be planned. They won't even be like really high up in lottery.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be really bad position for them.
Yeah, Beal was a horrible contract for them, and I don't have great expectations for them going into the season or even the next few seasons. So we'll see how it goes for them. It's really difficult to win games when Monte Morris is their starting point guard. He's a great backup point guard, but he's not a good starting point guard.
Who was it that was making fun of him? Someone was like, I think it was Benedict Mathurin actually.
It might have been.
I think he was calling him too short.
Which he is.
Hey, nothing's wrong with being short. Short can stand up. Yeah, so that's just all 30 NBA teams. This was, I know, really long.
Podcast, yeah.
Yeah, make sure let us know in the comments what you thought of like, what you think of certain teams or whatever. Let us know any ideas you have for the upcoming season of like video ideas we could do. As always, I'm thinking we're gonna let us know if you like kind of this longer style podcast. I think we're gonna try that out maybe for a little bit. I'm also thinking I want to figure out how we can maybe upload this to Spotify. I don't even know how Spotify algorithm works, but if it could, then maybe that'd be
that'd be really cool. If we can get this on Spotify, I think show support on there if we do that. Let us know if you guys think that would be a really cool way for us to do that. So but as always, leave a comment on our video, leave a like, subscribe to our channel if you're liking the content, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Wear your seatbelts.